Hello everyone, welcome to the course of cybersecurity DOS and DDoS attacks. Okay, so today we'll be covering what are DOS and DDoS attacks, types. Okay, we see the comparisons between DOS and DDoS attacks. Okay, and also we're going to cover the practical aspect where we are creating a lab. Okay, so we are using nmap in Kali Linux, and with the help of Kali Linux we're going to attack on a Windows machine, but this is just for the education purpose. Okay, so let's get started. I created a document, okay, for DOS and DDoS attacks. So these are the content. I'll also going to share you this document so that you can able to understand, you can also have learning, okay, on it. So first is, what is DOS attack? Okay, so DOS attack is a denial of service attack, okay, that floods the server with the traffic and make the resource unavailable. Okay, so before I start, I'll give you the basic that any organization, if it comes to government or you're talking about the private infrastructure or schools, okay, works on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay, so you must aware about these three pillars, okay, to achieve security of your organization, correct? So confidentiality means that your all your data must be secure, okay, it's confidential. Okay, integrity means your data cannot be modified. Okay, availability means that your data must be available 24 by 7 into 365. Okay, now let's take an example that you have a website, okay, where all the data is um, syncing with a web server over there. Okay, you have host from your organization or outside organization also, they are handling your, they are accessing your websites. Okay, so your website basically works on request and respond. Okay, so the end user send the request to the web server and the server will provide them the response. Okay, this is the basic thing I'm telling you. Okay, so every website that has request per second criteria, that how much number of requests a web server can able to handle in per second. Okay, so you can also see on, you can also search on internet that it depends on organization to organization. Some of the organization like Google, they can they have 50,000 plus requests they can make per second. Even they have load balancers also on the web servers and all, so they can able to do that as well. I'm just taking a basic example. Let's say this is a web server that can handle 500 plus requests per second. Okay, so 500 requests can be made. Okay, and the server will going to respond properly. Okay, now what attackers do is, so this is the attacker. The attacker found that this is the web server. Okay, the attacker started sending 1000 plus request, okay, per second using script. Okay, so she made any script and she started using nmap or any of the tool, he started sending the request to the web server. Okay, while the attacker started sending it completely against the availability, because the CPU utilization of that web server went 100% and the server is in hung state. Okay, cannot able to accept anything, cannot able to work on anything. Okay, So these are the issues we are facing when attackers started sending 1000 plus requests per second, because the request that can be handled by the web server is only 500, but this is a double request which has been sent by the attacker. Okay, so which is called DOS attack. Okay, this is DOS attack. Okay, so here the same thing I have mentioned over here, that the organization works on confidentiality, integrity and availability. Okay, the attacker send large number of requests to the receiver, and the receiver can't able to check what's legit and what's illegal, because the request is coming in and coming in, and all the CPU utilization of that web server went on 100%, and the website is in hung state now, cannot able to respond it. Okay, so you can see the diagram also here, that I also wrote that this makes the server inaccessible to others. So you can see the attacker bombs the victim with a HTTP request. So he started sending the HTTP request on port 80. Okay, and when the end user, who is legitimate user, who tries to access that web server, cannot able to do it, got failed. Okay, so this is the diagram. Okay, now this is called DOS attack, where there is single user means single attacker. Okay, now let's take the second attack, which is called DDoS attack. Okay, so what happened under DDoS attack is that before the web server has less number of request, means the web server can able to access less number of requests per second. But now in the modern times, the web servers can access more of the request, okay, per second. Okay, so what basically attackers do is that the attacker that already attacks multiple entities on internet, let's say IoT devices, okay, or we can say rogue servers, okay, or networks, like complete networks. Okay, so the attacker has all the hacked number of devices. Let's say the attacker has 10 plus rogue systems. Okay, so what the attacker do is that the attacker sends 100 plus scripts or 100 plus requests from all the 10 plus rogue systems, okay, to the single web server. Okay, so when number of requests went to the web server is completely down, which is like completely inaccessible. Okay, before it was single user, single attacker tries to send the request to the web server. Now there are multiple IoT devices or multiple rogue systems that are sending the request to the web server. So these are called DDoS attacks. Okay, so the difference between DOS and DDoS attacks are there are multiple attackers in the DDoS attacks. Okay, here the DDoS attack I've written over here is this is the type of attack where the attackers tries to create too much of traffic, which leads to so much congestion to the system or servers or the target applications. Okay, this resulted in slowness in the speed of the system and complete outage. Okay, so I wrote everything here, the same thing which I've discussed, that the attacker has IoT devices, servers or the networks, okay, collection of networks, okay, with the help of that they are called botnets, okay, and with the help of that they can make a request to number of requests to the single server and make it unavailable. Okay, so now we discuss about the differences Okay, so here the difference, the first point we have already discussed, that this DOS attack there is a single machine, but in DDoS attack there are multiple machines. Okay, the second option is the DOS attack is easily identifiable because it comes to single location, because there's a single attacker try to access it. But nowadays the attacker also has so much of sophisticated tools that they can change their source IP address and even the MAC addresses. And even nowadays there is also an option, then they can add 10 plus random IP addresses and random MAC addresses. With help of that they cannot be identifiable. Okay, so these are the new sophisticated uh, options for them, or I can say sophisticated way to hack or to make those DOS and DDoS attacks. Okay, the third point is the DOS attack is slower than DDoS attack because we it's self-explanatory that there is a single attacker, but under DDoS there is multiple botnets. Okay, the fourth point is the user's script to execute the attack. Obviously there's a script over there with a single attack and they used to run it multiple times, but here it coordinates with multiple hosts infected with the malware bots. Okay, because there are multiple bots over there and they can in different ways all can able to attack on that single web server. So this is the difference between DOS and DDoS attacks. Now we're going to discuss types of attacks.